How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer here. For the next 2 hours, we're going to talk pro wrestling. Of course, we've got Bryan Alvarez here, and this is going to be one of those shows that goes by pretty quick because first hour guest, actually at about 8:30 Eastern, we're going to have Raven up. And then in the second hour, late in the second hour, we're going to have Gabe SAPOLSKY of Ring of Honor. We'll be talking about the Ring of Honor controversy with TNA and all of that good stuff. And, of course, we have Bryan Alvarez here as well. And there was no shortage of news this week, including the big story, which is that Steve Austin was not on Raw on Monday, nor will he be on Raw this coming Monday, and nor are there any plans for him to be on Raw anytime in the near future, although he probably will be at some point. Kind of a contract impasse with WWE. He wants to own his name, and they don't want to give him those rights to his name. And I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a very interesting story, seeing as how Rock is claiming everywhere that he got the rights to his name.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Because he wants to merchandise himself.
I understand that, like, if I were Vince McMahon and I was going to give someone the rights to their name, I would give them the rights. I would give Austin the rights first because Rock is going to be making millions and millions of dollars that I could be getting a cut of, and I really don't think Austin creating his own merchandise is going to make near what Rock's making for movies.
Okay, but here's the key. If Austin, WWE, with their merchandise contracts, they have exclusive merchandise contracts with people. So if Austin does merchandise that is of the same variety, say T-shirts, T-shirts, they do it themselves. But let's say Austin wants to do a video, right? The company that has exclusivity with WWE for videos would have the right to sue WWE for a breach of contract if Austin does something in competition. So there's certain things that they can't, and Rock is not, if you notice, Rock isn't doing those things. And Rock could be making tons of money merchandising his own T-shirts, merchandising his own, videos and things like that, which he's not doing.
Yeah.
So that's a big issue in all this. Yes. John Laurinaitis is the new head of talent relations in the WWE, replacing Jim Ross, who has been promoted to what's his exact job? The business strategic development or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, Vince McMahon.
All I know is Ohio Valley's going to hell now.
Actually, that may very well be.
That's right.
What's your take on the TNA Ring of Honor controversy?
I think it's ridiculous.
Well, just before the show, we were talking about you're in a very minor version, or you have been at times in a very minor version of the same situation as an independent wrestler working in the Pacific Northwest, not making much in the way of money, not getting very many dates, and being told by different promoters that you can't work for the promoters.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't even know. Because I've always tried to understand the mindset of this, and I've never been able to. Because, I mean, this has happened to me where somebody didn't want me to work for a promotion in another state. Not a promotion that's running the same building or the same town on a different date and might perhaps cause some problems there. I'm talking about a different promotion in a different state and how upsetting this was for this person. And I never understood that, and I found it ridiculous, and everybody that was involved found it ridiculous as well. And this is just like a slightly more major league version of that. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Pride Grand Prix. Before we were talking about how, and I was telling you about how the heavyweight Grand Prix just isn't doing it for me like the light heavyweight Grand Prix did last year. And you said that, well, just wait until the time comes. And the time's here.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. And we're 2 weeks away, and we don't have one match. I mean, we've got 14 names, no matches, got a few ideas of matches. The show's going to be on the 25th at Saitama Super Arena. First round, it's actually a 3-round deal. The round of 16 will be on April 25th, and June 20th will be it'd be 4 singles matches, and then the 4 winners will go on to the final 4, which will take place on August the 15th. Also, all 3 shows at Saitama Super Arena, which is really interesting. Probably the biggest news when it comes to mixed martial arts is that K1 is running May 22nd at Saitama Super Arena, and K1 is trying to steal talent from UFC and Pride, and they are throwing so much money around. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Good for the fighters, I guess.
I mean, the thing, going back to the Pride Grand Prix real quick, the difference between, like, this one, well, maybe it was somewhat similar to the middleweight one, but, I mean, when you look at, like, the list of names that they have here, there's maybe 3 guys that you think are going to win.
Well, okay, Fedor, Mirko Cro, and Nogueira.
Yeah. And the rest of them, I understand there can be upsets and everything like that, but I would be so shocked. It's almost like, I don't want to say a bunch of squash matches, but It's almost like you're just waiting to see which of those 3 men, which 2 of them will be in the finals with each other and how they're going to get there. Okay,
but here's the situation. Realistically, if we took the 16 best heavyweights in the world, okay, with the exception of maybe, Tim Sylvia and Josh Barnett, who are not in this tournament, you would still, and at best, they would number 4 and number 5. The favorites would still be the same 3 guys.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, those are the 3 guys.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there'd be some people, you know, I mean, I don't know, if you look at the list, I'll go through Heath Ring, Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, Ron Waterman, Centuriu, whose chances of winning are not very high, Stefan Leko, who, if he's healthy, and from what I hear, he's got a bad back, and he may be dropping out, but if he was healthy and drew Mirko Cro Cop, he could be the one who could beat Mirko Cro Cop because his strength and Mirko Cro Cop's strength the same, and he may be a better kickboxer than Mirko Cro Cop. Mm-hmm. Sergey Karitanov, was a good fighter. Giant Silva.
That may be part of the problem with this tournament right there.
Yeah, but he's going to lose in the first round anyway.
Well, I understand that, but when you saw, the lineup for the middleweight tournament, you were like, man, every man here is great.
Yeah, I know.
And then here you've got Giant Silva.
But you know, the thing is that this tournament's going to be on TV in Japan, and the network wanted Giant Silva.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because they think
Why?
because they figure that if people are, all of your normal hardcore fans, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to be watching anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, but the people who are switching channels, if they come across this fight and they see Giant Silva against a normal size heavyweight, they're going to be intrigued.
So why didn't they Bob Sapp in? Is he too big?
Bob Sapp works for K1. That's their rivals now.
Okay.
Murillo Ninja, who, Murillo Ninja's a good fighter. Maybe too small, though. Hirotaka Yokoi, who's never lost, although he's never fought anyone at this level, and Yoshiki Takahashi. Those 3 guys are all 210-pounders. Randleman's a 210-pounder. Randleman's probably fighting Cro Cop first round, and Coleman is most likely fighting Fedor, which at least will eliminate, because I would rate probably of the 14 guys out there, I would probably rate Coleman as number 4 guy behind the big 3.
Yeah.
So one of the big 4 is going to be out, and I mean he could beat Fedor. It'd be an upset, but I mean I wouldn't put it past the possibility. Mm. So anyway, real quick, we have a couple lines open at 1-800-878-PLAY, so you can jump on board. We will get to the calls. We're going to start with Jonathan in Savannah. Jonathan, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not too much.
I have a couple questions for you, and I guess my first question has to do with the SmackDown pay-per-view that's going to be coming up in May.
Yes.
With Eddie versus Bradshaw. Who do you think is going to receive the blame for? I noticed on WrestlingObserver.com the poll for the prediction of buy rates in the 100 to 200,000 range was the majority of the guests. Who do you think will receive the blame on that one?
The internet. They're always a good scapegoat.
Because I really don't see how they can even put any blame on Eddie Guerrero. I mean, look at your deal. It's Bradshaw. I mean, this
Well, hopefully, then that's the deal, and they won't blame Eddie Guerrero.
I just have that feeling that someone, mainly maybe Mr. Triple H.
Yeah, but it's not even his brand.
Well,
I actually think that Triple H probably likes, because if you look at it in one sense,
it makes it look him like he is.
Well, I mean, the April pay-per-view is almost assuredly going to beat the May pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So he's fine.
But I mean, is there? I guess not. Would even a conspiracy person believe that who?
I don't think Triple H is trying to sabotage Eddie Guerrero.
You have to understand that Triple H is he's a McMahon now, and I can't imagine him trying to destroy half the brand.
No, but at the same time, if Eddie Guerrero was super hot, would he do something to keep Eddie Guerrero getting to the next level? Yes, he would.
Yeah.
On a different show?
Oh, yeah, because he wants to be the main guy. But I don't think the Bradshaw thing is the spot to ruin Eddie. I just think that
He kind of did that on that one show, though, on the draft show.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
Yeah. So, but...
And also the Booker T character. I think the Booker T character has just been insane.
Well, they've...
Because
I liked it for like the first half hour of the show when he debuted, and it was all downhill from there.
No, but I mean the whole thing of the idea of going publicly and saying SmackDown is the minor league brand. I mean that would be okay if the two brands were warring, and you know the SmackDown brand was as good as the Raw brand. But when the SmackDown brand really is the number 2 brand, and then you're saying it's the minor league brand, all you're doing is telling people, you know what? You're only going to watch. If I'm only going to watch one show a week, you really better watch Raw. Because nothing's happening on SmackDown.
And it was even worse when he came on and explained that it was the number 2 brand. And this would be fine if, like, it led to a match with Eddie and they had a great match for the belt and Eddie won and Booker said, okay, you're right or whatever. But, no, Bradshaw walked in and just proved it was the number 2 brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that promo on SmackDown, I was longing for those Triple H 20-minute promos at the beginning of Raw were, like, 10 times better than that. It just went dragged on and on and on.
I'm getting a kick out of Bradshaw, but I just don't see him as a main eventer. That's the problem.
No, I mean maybe mid card doing something, but even then, I don't know.
Hey, he'd be good. He would be a good semifinal heel if he could wrestle at that level, and I'm very skeptical that he's going to be able to.
Do you think like after the program, after it's done in May, that he would just go right back down, or are they going to keep continuing trying to get it?
It depends on how bad it flops. I think that if it flops real bad, maybe. But if it does reasonably, I mean, here's the thing: who else are they going to go to? I mean, unless it's Kurt, and I don't know how long it's going to be before Kurt's all the way healthy and ready to wrestle. There's nobody else. I mean, Big Show is going to be, undergoing surgery, so he's going to be out of the picture. Booker, here's the problem with Booker. Booker's set to retire, soon. So they, who else do they have on the heel side?
Why didn't they go with Booker first and hold off on Bradshaw? That's my question.
Yeah.
When I watched,
I think maybe somebody thinks that Bradshaw's money.
To me, it was almost like somebody was going, "We can make Bradshaw."
Oh no, they think that absolutely.
Well, I know, but it's like this was like they're trying to prove this to themselves almost.
Well, good luck.
Can they not tell on like the what was the rating on Thursday? A 3-0.
3-0, yeah.
I mean, it's just has it been going down? At the belt, or has it been going down more recently since they're starting the draft?
It's only been going down it's really only gone down the last 2 weeks.
The draft helped kill it when it was supposed to help it.
Yeah. Well, it helped the other show a little bit.
One quick thing, what's the deal with, how are they, like, some of the younger guys received, like, backstage? I know with, like, the whole thing with Brock, he wasn't all that well liked before he left, but, like, Cena, Orton, Batista.
I think that there's a little bit of resentment of Orton because he's really cocky, and he's gotten so much without earning it in people's minds. Batista, I think there's probably a little bit of resentment because they think he's gotten it because of his body and he's never done anything in the ring to deserve it, which is true. And Cena, mixed because I think everyone realizes he's a really good promo.
Okay.
And he's a nice guy, so I think that helps. Okay. This coming week's Observer will have a lot on the Pride Grand Prix because hopefully by Tuesday we'll actually know the card. And
get your hopes up.
Yeah. Do you think Tyson's going to sign tomorrow?
No.
Yeah. Even if they announce he does, and even if he actually does sign, there's supposed to be a press conference tomorrow for Tyson to sign with K1. Until he's in the ring, I don't believe it. In fact, I'm not even sure if I believe it if he's in the ring that he's not going to walk out in the middle of the first round when he gets a leg kick.
I don't ever expect something like that to happen, but you never know.
Yeah, well.
I think we've heard about Tyson for how long now?
August.
Yeah.
But
I think Inoki's probably dropped his name long before that as well.
Oh, Inoki. Yeah, he was doing that for a long time, but I never bought that one. Inoki. Oh my God. That next New Japan show on the Tokyo Dome, and they're talking about they're bringing in an 8'2" guy. Did you hear about that?
Oh yeah, where they had the picture.
I actually haven't seen the picture.
Oh, it's a great picture. It's like it's Inoki and this other dude, and they're standing with this giant man behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And to hype him up, his face is blurred.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see who it is, and it's just things like that that make me love Inoki.
I think did they find Gonzalez?
Such cornball hype. No, it's a white guy.
Oh. So I don't even know who it is.
I don't know.
Gosh. Oh well. Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna the 8-foot guy against Bob Sapp.
That'll be a great match.
Oh boy.
I want to see the Hogan Akebono with the winner getting Sab. I would love to see that for some reason.
Oh, yeah, so would I. I don't think Hogan's going to do it, though.
I doubt it.
I think they have to make the decision on Akebono, like, real quick because, New Japan hasn't announced a card for May the 3rd because they've been waiting, for Akebono. But, oh, God. I just watched the Akebono match with Musashi, and, oh, boy. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know about him in pro wrestling. That's quite the idea.
Well, he may be better in pro wrestling than real combat.
I think he'll be worse.
Well, there is that.
Oh, I mean, Bryan, like a guy who's really bad in real combat, at least he's going to get beat up or something, or he's going to move slow. When you're really bad in pro wrestling, I mean, I think that that's even worse.
Yeah. I don't know.
You've been in with some.
I'm thinking of this from Akebono's standpoint more than anybody else's.
Well, it's safer.
He's the world's fattest punching bag right now.
Yes. And it's safer for him, but I don't know. We're going to go to Elizabeth in Dallas. Elizabeth, what's going on?
Hey, I was just actually holding for Raven.
You were holding for Raven?
Yes, I was. Is that okay?
Okay, well then hold back on.
Thanks.
Put it back on hold. All right. We're going to go to Mark in Waterbury, Connecticut. Mark, what's going on?
Gentlemen, how are you tonight?
We're doing pretty good.
Good. Quality show as always.
Oh, thank you very much.
Two things I want to bring up, okay? Number one is Flair, okay?
Uh-huh.
First of all, I take it he's not booked next Sunday, being over in the UK for promo work next week, correct?
He'll be back by Sunday, but, yeah, you know what? They haven't announced a match for Flair. I figured they're going to, they would shoot something out because they still have to do something with Benjamin. And, God, I hope that they don't do Benjamin against Batista. And they got to shoot, and I figure they're going to shoot it out of the main event tomorrow night to get whatever match that Benjamin is in.
What were you talking about? I got cut off.
Oh, the fact that Ric Flair is not booked for a match yet for Sunday's pay-per-view.
Okay. Yeah. My second question is, do you think now with Flair being 55, okay, and every year we talk about this is at Flair, but assuming that there's a decent or a better than average chance this truly may be it for a full-time run, does Vince have the wherewithal or does he even care to send him off properly?
Wrestling's not very good about that. See, the thing is with Flair, though, is that by doing that, okay, send him off properly means that he's got to go away. And he's not going away.
Never go away.
He's not going away. I mean, Ric Flair's never going to go away. I mean, Hogan's never going to go away. I mean, like, you do this big retirement tour for him, and then a year he's going to come back anyway. And Flair won't last a year away.
Is he going to challenge Manny Moto's record of performing in his business for 7 decades?
Let's see, 70s?
Baseball.
Okay, I know. 70s, 80s. Wasn't that Minnie Minoso?
Minnie Moto. I'm sorry, I said Moto. Minoso, yes.
Isn't that amazing? I know nothing about baseball. Anyway, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000.
The last one was only an at-bat, but, you know.
Oh, I know the story. Okay, so he'd have to be active in 2019 to be in 7 decades, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's 14 years from now. If he's alive, yes.
Remember, Luthez worked at 72, so
74.
74. I'm sorry.
And Moolah worked at 80, and Mae Young probably is going to work again. Maybe not.
71.
Although we're really stretching the definition.
You're right. I think you're right. 70. Wait. Let's see. No. 74 because it was 1990 and Luthez was born in 1916. 74.
There you go.
Okay.
Last point is the Titans business plan. Okay, so they're going to test the waters with the two a month pay-per-views in June and October.
Yes.
If it cannibalizes the buy rate, okay, do you think it won't? Obviously, after the first one, they'll wait till the second one in October. But if there seems to be the pattern after the two, does Titan get scared off? And if they do, how do you reunify the brands in a believable way?
Oh, I don't think they're going to reunify the brands. Even if they do that, they'll just do the monthly pay-per-view. I think that they'll just cut back and stay 12 instead of go up to like 16 or 18, which is like the next step. I don't think they're never going to go past 20 because I don't think that they would do shows the same month as WrestleMania and SummerSlam and Survivors and Rumble. My last point, and then I'll let you guys discuss a little bit about this and hang up, is with Titans cash and cash equivalents that they're sitting on, I mean, I know all this talk has been that they're waiting for the next big thing to hit. Well, if the next big thing doesn't hit for a decade, I mean, I'm sure Vince and company are very happy making 4%, 5% profit margins on cash equivalents of $400 million each year. Not only that, they're still just wait. You just wait until the quarterly thing comes out for this quarter. They're going to make so much money this quarter, it isn't even funny, and their business isn't even turned around.
And it's
just because they had the great WrestleMania.
It's all of us that aren't satisfied with the product, but the bottom line is they're making handfuls of money, and that's all that matters.
They're making money. Well, they cut back enough, and the thing is, it's not going down any further. It hasn't really declined at all in probably a year. And as long as it stays at this level, they're going to make money. They're going to make money forever. I mean, one of the key things they have is, the way they pay the talent and everything is that if things go down, it's the talent that suffers.
That's right. Gentlemen, thanks for taking my call. Keep up the good work.
Okay, you're very welcome, Mark. Okay, we got one line open, but we're going to Raven. Raven, what's happening?
How you doing?
Doing really good. How have you been?
Thing to say about the caller statements.
Yes.
When did Funk start wrestling? Did he start wrestling in the 60s?
Funk would have started in 65.
So Funk 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the thousands. So I guess Flair would have to go if the Flair didn't wrestle in the 60s.
Yeah, Flair started in 72.
So 70, 80, 90, 2000. He'd have to go to 20 to 31, wouldn't he?
2021.
Decades.
2020.
Oh, wouldn't it be 30? 2030?
No, I think 2020 if we consider 20 as the new decade.
80s, 90s, 0, that's 4.
Okay, 7, 80, 90, 0, 10, 20.
7 would be 30.
Oh, my God. He has to go to 2020, 2030.
That's what I'm saying, whereas Funk only has to go to 2020.
Okay, so Funk's got to go 16 more years, so he'd have to go until he's 75, and that's a tough one.
I predict he'll do a moonsault.
I predict he won't get up.
Actually, he won't really do it. He doesn't do them anymore.
A moonsault? I think he did one a couple years ago.
Yeah, because I tried to get him to do a moonsault. He doesn't do them anymore.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever do one in the first place.
Yeah.
Then what else was I going to say? About the Titan thing. I said years ago that they're never going to go away. Like, I knew that there was bottom line of X amount of people that are going to watch wrestling that are never going to stop watching it. And I knew that it wasn't that low number. You know what I mean? Like, what is it now? Like,
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If the thing that will kill it, and it will kill it dead, is if for some reason or other they lose television, which isn't going to happen anytime soon. But
it wouldn't happen. Yeah, I agree with that, but that wouldn't happen. So they're going to be a money machine forever. And like I said from day one, the brand split. Like, I was behind that from day one because it wouldn't make any sense to put them back together.
Yeah.
That'd be the dumbest idea they could ever do.
It depends on business. Like, if they were to lose Smack, let's just say UPN goes out of business.
Okay, that's it. I mean, if you lose TV, I'm saying, but all things being equal, I'm saying,
yeah.
They wanted the split was the best idea because you need to keep all those people apart because there isn't enough. There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah. Well, they do something to keep enough guys on the roster. Because there's
And people just get sick of the same people,
Yeah.
Would you make any changes to how they're doing it now?
I don't watch it now.
Oh well, I would have more thought on movement back and forth, and certainly add some heels to SmackDown side. Because boy, is that side desperate. Anyway, and a lot to talk about since last time you've been on the show. I guess the first thing, the TNA Ring of Honor thing. I mean, how familiar are you with what's been going down, and what's your thoughts?
Not much of. I mean, I know the basic gist of it. Obviously, I mean, I keep up with everything that goes on in the business, or I try to, but I don't read the websites or anything because it's just too much stuff. I love performing more than I ever have, but I'm not as big a fan for watching it anymore.
Okay. But what's your now? I want your thoughts for you personally, but also if you were somebody else. Let's just say, I mean, because you're doing very well, and you probably if you haven't worked regularly for Ring of Honor, although you've done dates and you had a couple of dates scheduled for.
The reason I don't work regularly is honestly my price tag's too high.
Yeah.
And it isn't financially feasible for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked working for them. You know what I mean? Rob's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
They made a really stupid mistake, but I mean, he's a friend of mine. But and Gabe's a good guy. But it just honestly, it comes down to money. I got to make my money. I'm at the age where I got to put away.
But what are your thoughts as far as being? No, when you.
What I gather, I mean, if this is the basic gist, is basically they just want TNA wants someone to sign something from Ring of Honor saying, look, if Feinstein shows back up, then and this causes any kind of harm, that we can hold you liable.
Right.
Which, if in fact Feinstein has nothing to do with the company, then there should be no reason for Gabe not to have somebody sign that.
Yeah. Well, somebody signed it, but then one guy didn't.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that much.
Okay, what happened? Okay, Doug Gentry signed it Wednesday.
Right.
And then.
Who'd he ever beat?
Oh God, I just remember. So anyway, then TNA said that Kerry Silkin needed to sign it as well, and Kerry Silkin wouldn't sign it. And so that's where everything stands.
Why wouldn't Carey sign it?
We're going to have Gabe on later. Maybe we can find out. But, I mean, the gist as far as is that because of the term personally liable, and he didn't want to be personally liable for a company that he's not even running. You know, he's just investing in.
I can't blame TNA, though, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they can, you know, that's the worst, you know. TNA's in a very precarious position right now. I mean, the last thing they need is something like that to happen, you know. Mm-hmm. So I don't blame them at all.
Now, what were your thoughts on the USA Today article that you were quoted in, and we were going to talk a little bit about that?
Honestly, I was a little miffed about the whole thing because the guy spent like an hour and a half interviewing me, and then they actually called me up and said, look, we need to get some pictures of you. And they sent a photographer to TNA who she spent the entire show, and before the show, just taking pictures of me candidly, you know, doing stuff. I was talking to the boys. She must have taken like 10 rolls of film. It was ridiculous. I didn't even get a picture. You know, I was upset about that. But that and also the way they quoted me, not that they took it out of context so much, but without the rest of the context, I don't think it has much meaning. And honestly, they didn't. My basic gist of everything, which I don't really think they covered, was my whole point. The only point I wanted to make was that no one is responsible except for the individual. You know, because I believe, if I would have been a lawyer or anything else, I still would have turned to alcohol and drugs because there's a void I'm trying to fill with it. You know, and so is everybody else. I mean, the business doesn't force anybody to do anything they don't want. And my point about the size was, if I wanted to be a jockey, I couldn't be a jockey because I'm too big. I mean, this big man sport, and actually now it's not. Now you can be a smaller guy. Look at, Rey Mysterio. But, back in the day, it's a big man sport. If you want to play in a big man sport, it's just, there's certain parameters to certain careers. If you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to law school. If you want to be a big wrestler, you got to be a big guy, or at least you did. And so to me, it was my choice to take steroids. You know what I mean? Nobody forced me. Nobody said and held a gun to my head. And I can't blame the business because the promoter thinks that if he has big built guys, he's going to make more money. It's his prerogative. It's his company. And if I choose to play in a field, then I gotta either make myself fit into that field or find a different, profession. So I don't blame anybody. I blame myself, and I think everybody else should. And I think if you don't, it's just because you don't want to accept culpability because, you're just trying to blame somebody else for your own problems, and I think that's wrong.
Okay, but what if, and this happens all the time, what if someone goes in there, has a tryout match, let's just say, has a great tryout match, and then the guy just goes, man, you had a great tryout match, but you got to get bigger, or you got to change that physique.
And honestly, then you should change the physique, and you don't, honestly, you don't have to take steroids to get built. That's a misconception. What it is you're going to have to diet your balls off, which nobody wants to do. But I'm telling you, if you diet like a madman, you can look, you can be shredded with abs. I mean, I see guys all the time like that.
Yeah, but then they carry enough body mass. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But if you're only $170 to begin with, you better be a flippity floppity cruiserweight. Mm-hmm. My whole point is that that's part of the job description. The job description doesn't say 5'2" and and bald, with bad acne. If you have bad skin, they had to get your skin fixed. You know what I mean? If you want to be a model, you can't just be a model if you're an ugly guy.
Yeah, well, for women, I think the pressure on the models is, there's a certain look, and they're all starving before shoots.
I want to be a jockey. I can't be a jockey. What do I do? Chop my legs off at the knees? That's just the way it is, And if you choose to make that choice, look, they're saying, look, if you want an opportunity, we're going to need you at a bigger size. You're going to need to look more the part. I don't think, especially in this day and age, I don't think anybody's saying, look, you need to get on the gas.
Well, no one's going to specifically say it. But
I mean, honestly, you take creatine. People don't even take creatine. I don't want to get the whole workout thing, but and I'm a firm believer that steroids work. So I'm not saying that doesn't work. It does. But like creatine, you will put on a solid 10 pounds. The problem is most people don't take it correctly. They don't take it with dextrose, which means it won't get a transport system. So basically, they're wasting it. I mean, there's so many things to bodybuilding. When you take certain supplements, what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, all that kind of stuff, which you could take a guy who's, if you're not, you can take a guy who's 5'8", 180 pounds, and turn him into a guy that looks pretty shredded at 180. And if you can't, and then of course if you're a smaller guy, you got to be able to do a bunch of flippity-floppity stuff, like a bunch of moonsaults and stuff. So I mean, if you're small and they like you and they go, hey, you need to learn how to be an acrobat. I mean, come on, it's an occupational, tick.
Yeah. What are your thoughts as far as TNA and television, Fox Sports Net?
Honestly, I mean, TV would be tremendous. It's another payoff for me during the week, so I like that too. And if we don't get it, I'm fine with that. I've always been a big proponent that this is a word of mouth business. What did I read the other day that St. Louis, what they drew a hell of a house, but everything was in town that day or something.
Oh, well, when they did they went against the NCAA tournament and they still drew the big house, yeah.
It doesn't. Wrestling fans are going to watch wrestling if you give them something to watch, and I think the show's been turning around lately. I think it's been a much better show. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Everyone thinks it's so easy to book, but it isn't, because you have to book so many. Like everybody goes, I could have booked that storyline better. Well, maybe you could have booked one. But there's 8 or 10 different storylines in a show. You got to juggle them all. Each one has to be different. Each one has to be intriguing. Each one has to have characters that work. And a lot of times you put people in positions and they don't come through. So I think Dutch and Jeff have found the right mix now. With the focus on the belt, which I've always been a big proponent that the belt's the most important prize. You know what I mean? And so the focus is to the belt. Everybody's fighting for the belt. They're trying to bring Ron Killings into the mix. AJ's over, I think things are finally, they're coalescing, they're gelling. So I think, if people, I've never believed that TV was necessary. I've said that from day one. I think you put back-to-back good shows together, people are going to tune in because they're going to tell their friends. But the problem is if you don't have back-to-back good shows, you tell your friend to tune in, he tunes in on a bad episode, he's like, well, I didn't really like it that much, he's not going to tune in again, nor is he going to tell somebody else. But this thing, it moves like word of mouth. That movie, Bend It Like Beckham, little indie movie about some Hindu girl that wanted to play soccer like David Beckham, and ended up drawing like $10 million or something. It was like $100 million. It was like $1 million to make. Word of mouth, strictly word of mouth.
But it still had a lot. But it still had, like, once you're at that level, you have tremendous mainstream. And for your company, I mean, one of the big things that you don't have is you really don't have that mainstream talk.
That's the biggest thing we don't have is, people come to me in the indies and they'll go, and these are people actually coming to an indie show, which is different. Someone who just go to a regular show, and they're going, man, when are you going to get back on TV? And I'm like, I'm on pay-per-view every week. They're like, really? And so I think part of the problem is, and I don't think this is a booking problem, I think this is an office problem, is is trying to get our name out in the certain markets, you know what I mean? But then, it's a fiscal thing, how much do you spend to make it worthwhile, what markets? And I think, I don't know enough about what they're doing, nor do I, spend enough time tracking it, but the more word of mouth, the more the word gets out, the better it's going to do, obviously.
So don't you think free weekly TV leading to a pay-per-view would be better than the model they've got now?
Not necessarily. Ultimately it depends on the product. I've always said that. The product is going to draw. It's just like, you could have a really good product, and you can have a product that's halfway decent and draw X amount of people. You find the right hot guy on the top, and he's going to draw you that much more. You have the guy on top by himself, and he's going to draw okay, but without the card backing him up. You just need the package, and it's hard putting the pieces together. A lot of the guys that everybody in the sheets and the internet thinks is so good really aren't so good. A lot of them, they can't do the mic work. They don't know how to perform in a way to draw tickets as opposed to just doing high spots to get themselves over. So where it's like fast food where, wow, that was cool, and then when it's over, you're like, there's no emotional connection because wrestling fans buy tickets based on an emotional connection, not on a bunch of acrobatics. And there's nothing against those matches. I enjoy them, and I think you should have at least one per card, but that's it,
We're going to go to Dallas, Texas, and Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you're finally on with Raven.
Hi, thank you guys so much for putting me back through. That was awesome. Hi, Raven.
Hello.
I have a question for you. It's a two-part question about the women of wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. I was wondering what you think of the current women's wrestling in the sport, and also, do you think that a woman that truly loves the sport but isn't the girlfriend ever, willing to be like a play toy for the boys, can actually have a successful career?
Wait, say that second question again?
I was wondering what you think of, a woman that truly loves the sport but isn't the girlfriend or, willing to play around with the boys, if she can actually have a successful career in the industry?
I think anybody with any talent can have a successful career. You know, I mean, you have to be attractive. But, I mean, you know, I don't have anything against women in the business. Well, my only contention's always been that men don't want to see women wrestle. The majority of fans don't want to see women wrestle. They'd like to see women catfight and stuff like that. However, the reason that is because most women don't wrestle very well. There's very few women, you know, I'm not going to mention Japanese women because that's a whole other thing, but American women aren't very talented in the ring, and of course, why would they be? They don't have any time to grow and become talented. But there's nothing worse. To me, there's nothing better than good wrestling. There's nothing worse than bad wrestling. And 9 times out of 10, women's matches are pretty bad. That being said,
they've gotten a lot better. In WWE,
before China wouldn't do the job for her. But I thought she was actually drawing a demographic. I kind of felt like it. You know, I don't know if there's any empirical evidence to show this, but that I thought that there was a young audience of women who were like, I want to be like Lita, and they wanted to come to wrestling, and I think, no. I think she could have, if they would have marketed, they would have continued to market her and push her the way they were. I really think that they could have got, you know, some decent, I think they got more people to come see wrestling because of it. You know, they could have buy rates and up to TV ratings. You know, I think you have to have, not like anything else. I mean, if you get a girl who's the equivalent of Austin, yeah, people are going to see it, but the problem is the talent pool is so small, and the women are generally not very good. There are exceptions like Alexis, but, you know, most times just the women wrestling isn't very good, and so who wants to watch bad wrestling? You know, especially when they can see 2 women rip each other's clothes off, which is much more titillating.
Right. Okay, well, that's my question, so thank you so much.
One question I want to ask you, Raven, is when we're talking about the USA Today thing, and then I guess, you know, Billy Graham wrote a letter to me about 200 pills a day being, like, an incredible number, and actually I guess, you know, you want to clarify exactly what you meant by 200 pills a day, because they did kind of get that wrong a little bit.
It was the equivalent. It was actually more than that. And in some bizarre way, like, I know I shouldn't be proud of this, but in some bizarre Keith Richards way, I am proud of it, that I was able to survive, but I was shooting up the equivalent of 240 Percocets a day. What it was I took the OxyContin 80s, which, one OxyContin 80 is like the equivalent of like 16 Percocet, and I was shooting one of them an hour, like for 15 hours a day, so I guess I was sleeping like 9 hours a day, and I was shooting them up every hour, which I don't even know how I got to that kind of tolerance, but somehow I did. And then one day I decided to add up the total to see what I was, and I was like, let's see, 16 times 15, blah, blah, blah. I figured I was 240, and then I was like, I got to quit. Because I knew I was going to die pretty soon. But it is, in fact, true that I did shoot the equivalent of about 240 Percocets a day.
Jeez. I don't know. What happened? I mean, like, when the day you added that up, did you just go, oh, my God?
Well, oh, my God, and I go, I got to get clean. And then literally, like, I knew I was going to, I remember this specifically, I knew I was going to Philadelphia in like 2 weeks or something, and so I didn't want to, which is my backyard where my drug use is always worse when I'm in Philadelphia because it's my old stomping grounds. And so I was like, well, and I think we were running ECW Arena like every 6 weeks instead of 3 weeks like it was in the old days. So I figured if I tried to get clean right there, I'd be in Philly in 2 weeks. That wouldn't be such a good site for 2-3 weeks. So I figured, so I said, I'm going to get clean in like, so I figured I'd wait till I went to Philly, and then after that, I would get clean. And almost it was like 5 weeks away or 4 weeks away till Philly. I forget what it was, but so like I told all my buddies I was going to get clean. And then next week I showed up and they go, are you clean yet? I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to get clean until after we go to Philly, which is in 4 weeks. So I'd show up the next week to go, are you clean yet? And I'm like, no, not for another 3 weeks. They're like, you're not getting clean. I'm like, no, really, I have. And nobody believed me. And
I don't know if I would at that point.
but I'm, if anything, I'm very stubborn. And also I knew by making it public that my psyche, I can't take the public, if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, it's really disturbing to me. So I know if I put it out there in the public, I would have to, go through with it. And I brought Fonzie with me to keep me company, and a girl who was a close friend of mine at the time. And I went to this outpatient center in Florida, and they shot me up with Buprenex, and it was hell. I mean, it was ungodly hell, and I just, laid and, it felt like baseball bats were beating me senseless. And I just laid in the hotel room and suffered. And the really hard part before the Buprenex kicked in was probably about like 40, 50 hours. And then after that, it'd be tolerable. And then it took like 9, 10 days to really get all, can get everything out of my system to start, coming around again. But it was hell. I mean, I don't recommend it to anybody,
Yeah. Actually, before we go to the phones, I want to ask Raven about, I don't know, what was it, about a week or so ago, you were at Hugh Hefner's birthday party?
Yeah, Hugh Hefner's birthday party. Me and Johnny Fairplay went. And it's like Fort Knox trying to get into that place. I had to submit a resume, an 8x10. Hefner had to approve it. And, oh, my God, it was his birthday party at the mansion. It was a pajama party. So every girl there was in lingerie. Like, it's absolutely the most. You've never seen that many hot women in one place in lingerie in your entire life. It's unbelievable.
I probably haven't in my entire life combined.
And then here's the best part is I meet this guy comes up to me. He's a big mark for me. He's like, oh, Raven, blah, blah, blah. So it turns out he works for the Ford modeling agency. So I'm probably jinxing it by talking about it, but he's going to actually try and turn me into a Ford model. I was like, I can see it now. They got to have, like, the freaky-looking section for models, I guess. Before we go any further, I want to mention that I want to plug my website, first of all, because the guy who set it up, I guess he's set it up like 5-6 years ago, my buddy Vic. It's the most unbelievable site, and the guy did such an amazing job, and I really want to put him over. And I guess he told me he gets like 500,000 hits a month, which is ridiculous, I guess. And I think he did a really good job. And if anybody's interested in reading my views on anything, I keep a journal about once a week. I write something new, and usually it's either informative or entertaining or completely ridiculous. But so feel free to check it out. It's called theraveneffect.com. And then one other thing I was going to mention is that Disco wanted me to tell you that he wants to do the show, and he's very insulted that you never asked him.
Okay.
He's a close personal friend of Bryan Alvarez, and he's upset at both of you.
Okay. We're going to go to Ed in San Antonio. Ed, what's going on?
Hey, guys. Raven, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. What I'd like to ask you, Raven, is you've portrayed a very controversial character through most of your career in the Raven character, and you've been a part of many controversial angles. And I want to get your opinion on an angle they ran on Raw last week, which I enjoyed, but most of the internet community or whatever has been insulted by it or they're against it, and that's the Eugene character. And as a worker and the person who's been in controversy, I'd like to get your opinion on it and where you think they're going to go with it.
What exactly is it?
It's kind of a cross between Rain Man and Mighty Igor.
I don't have a problem with it, as being what it is. I just don't find those characters interesting myself. Like, I don't find them to be entertaining. I find them to be... I just find that they appeal to the lowest common denominator, which is fine. I mean, if the object is to engage the fans, and if that engages the fans, great. I don't have a problem with it controversially wise. I just don't find those kind of characters to be very interesting.
Okay, Dave, what was your opinion on that, Dave?
It's too early to say. I mean, here's the deal. Especially in modern times, a character like that, even if it works for a year or two, you can typecast a guy. And, we've seen this with a lot of guys in the last 10 years more than before, is that they get a character, and then when the character kind of finishes its run, they got nowhere to go, and their career kind of goes nowhere. Like, Val Venus is like the perfect example.
Or the worst is they repackage him, and the fans are like, well, we just saw him as that.
Well, but in this character, where the guy's playing, like this guy, practically, like a retarded guy, it's going to be pretty hard to repackage him when this thing burns out. And that's the problem I have with this more is the long term for Nick Dinsmore is that, yeah, he probably wouldn't have gotten his shot, and they probably thought he was too bland because he was just a wrestler. So now he's going to get his shot, and he may do well. Those characters usually work for kids, and those characters...
You know what, this is one of those things where I'm a firm believer in, if you weren't going to get a chance anyway, then take this and you run with it. And I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I got saddled with the Johnny Polo thing, which was just, which was so not me, and I so didn't want to do it. And so I just reinvented myself and went a completely different way. But the opportunity,
But that's hard to do. But first of all, when you...
What I'm saying is if you have nothing else, at least he's getting an opportunity. So as crappy as it is, if he can make the most out of it, like what happened with me was I made Polo. I took it so far beyond what they expected that Vince made me a producer. You know what I mean? Like it changed. What I'm saying is if you take something that sucks, you step up to the plate and you knock it out, you're going to get a chance to move somewhere else with it. You know what I mean? Or you're going to get seen in a different way. I'm just saying that as crappy as it is, if he wouldn't have got an opportunity, that'd be even worse. And at least with this, if he has enough,
Yeah, but this is a hard one when it runs its course to go somewhere else with.
Do you remember that angle?
I don't know. I've always been a big fan of problems because I like coming up with solutions. But I mean, you can always come up with it. Let's say just for argument's sake that after he wants to get out of it, he decides, and let's say he hits a home run with it, and they really like it, and they see that maybe he's got more potential, which I don't know if he does, because I've never seen him work. But let's say he does. Then all of a sudden he comes out and he says the whole thing was a gag and he was making fun of people, and he turns himself into such a nasty, evil heel character that he would mock the lowest common denominator like that, and what steps the fans are for falling for it. I mean, there's always a way to come out of it. It's just a matter of how creative can you be.
Well, that's true, because Bubba Ray Dudley actually started some of that.
Exactly. I mean, it's really, you know, yeah.
But on the same token, WWE hasn't done a good job of giving people second characters. Or guys who come up with like a good first character that runs its course, a lot of them have had a lot of trouble after that.
But then again, I mean, hopefully in the near future there'll be a second, hopefully TNA will expand, a third company will start out, they'll have other opportunities, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you do never know where the business is going to be in 2 years. You don't even know where it's going to be in weeks.
Yeah, what I would love to see is I'd love to see TNA offer Austin, a couple million to come in and...
and change the face of wrestling.
Change the face of wrestling. And honestly, I would love to see, I wish that... I always get mad at certain people for not giving back to the business, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying a lot of old-timers never gave back. All they were about themselves, and they retired and never put anybody on the way out and never gave nothing back and stuff like that. I'd love to see, and I think Steve's a great guy, I'd love to see Steve say, you know what, I can make my mark somewhere else. I can help TNA, which, I guess... Yeah,
but the problem, there's a big problem there because of who owns TNA.
Right, but I'm saying, in a best-case scenario, in a best-case world, if they were friends and Steve said, you know what, I've already made my fortune, I don't need any more money, I help these guys, put them on the map, bam, you know what I mean? It's easy for me to say from my phone, I'm not making a third of what he's making, but honestly, I guess, I don't know, I just always get mad, and I'm not mad at Steve, because I think Steve's, I think he's done so much for the business. I just think there's a lot of old-timers that never gave back, and, who could have got health care for the boys or stuff like that. I mean, I don't know.
Like Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to start burying people because I'm really bad about that, and you never know who's going to show back up.
You never know. No, you never know. Look at all those people who buried Eric thinking he was never going to be around again.
Yeah. I was like, that's the last thing I ever thought I would see. So, I mean, and that's 8 years ago, and the stuff I've seen since then blows me away, but... I don't want to start burying people. I just, too many guys retired. So I'll bury people that aren't coming back for good. Too many guys retired and just didn't give anything back. And what about love for the business? I always played for the love of the game, Infuriating.
Yeah.
What's up with CM Punk and TNA?
As far as what?
What are they doing with him? Are they going to do anything with him?
I don't think so.
No, honestly, I told Jeff, Jeff keeps his cards close to his vest, which I think he should. I mean, I don't have any, it's contrary to what people think, I have no say in what goes on there. And I don't want any say because what happens with me is I'm such a perfectionist that I drive myself insane thinking of ways to improve, and it's just not healthy for me. And frankly, they're not asking me to do it. Like Jeff always cool about asking me for my, what do I think about certain ideas for myself. And that's where I like being, having a hand in that. I like helping out the young guys in the back. But I'm glad that Jeff keeps his cards close to his vest because he should. Because what happens is if you start telling people what they're going to do, then the boys start thinking, well, I don't want to do that. Just for the simple thing like a finish. Let's say you told the boys a week ahead of time what the finish is going to be. They go home and they start thinking, they talk to their friends would go, why are you doing a job? They start getting mad. I shouldn't be doing a job. Oh, here's how I can do this. Let me politic that. I mean, there's a reason the boys aren't told very much. All
right.
All right, guys, thanks for taking my call.
On Wednesday night, Raven will be on NWA TNA pay-per-view against Chris Harris. It's the main event of actually a pretty loaded show. They got Jeff Jarrett against James Storm, Apollo and D'Lo Brown challenging Dallas and Kid Cash for the tag team title, Frankie Kazarian against Sanjay Dutt for the cruiserweight title. Those are the big matches on Wednesday. And, of course, actually it's pretty big next couple of weeks because Sunday, a week from tonight, will be Backlash from Edmonton. And, of course, that's Chris Benoit, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H in the main event there, along with Randy Orton and Mick Foley in a Falls Count Anywhere match for the Intercontinental Championship. And then the following Sunday will be the Pride pay-per-view, and we don't know, they haven't announced one match for that.
And the following Wednesday, either me or Harris versus Jeff in a cage.
That's right.
Now, I've never wrestled Chris Harris before, which is actually kind of cool because first matches are either huge payoffs or big bombs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this will be good.
I'm looking forward to it, but I'm just saying, like, I've had a history, like, I've always found my first matches, like, the first match I've ever with Benoit was one of our best ones, and, you know, it all depends, like, you know, sometimes first matches suck, sometimes they're really, really good, because sometimes things click because you've never worked, and sometimes they don't for the same reason. Yeah, I've noticed more often than not, if two top guys go against each other, the first match is usually one of the better ones, because don't you think there's like an enthusiasm of working with someone you never have, so you want to do all your, you know what I mean? And then once you... Which is also the problem with it sometimes, you know what I mean? Because you can't follow it? Like sword. But sometimes you can't follow it. Well, no, I don't mean that. I'm saying sometimes because you want to do so much because it's the first time you're so excited that things just don't click right. Yeah. You know, because sometimes you push too much where you shouldn't have because you're trying to get the most out of it, and instead, you're limiting yourself. Well, yeah, or sometimes you're going in there, I can do this, 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 and this, and this, and then you start thinking of, like, what you can do rather than the match, right? Sure. Yeah. Let's go to Matt in Vancouver. Matt, what's going on?
Hey, Raven?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself? Good. They've been talking about ECW maybe coming back and Paul Heyman running it. Would you ever work with Paul again, or is that out of the question? That's really not going to happen. Yeah, not at all. I don't understand why everybody keeps thinking this is going to happen, because it makes so little sense. The roster is so depleted, and then to have a third company. Plus, what people don't get is you can't just have ECW was what it was Paulie would never be given the free reign to do it right, and who knows if Paulie's current enough and hip enough to still do it. I mean, what made it so spectacular, besides all the talent, was part of the way it caught the zeitgeist. It caught the moment. It was so trendy and so happening for that time, and to find that zeitgeist again isn't that easy. Do you think Raw is trying to do what ECW did, or are they not trying to do that at all? No, Raw's trying to Ring of Honor, Raw. They're not doing ECW at all. Yeah, they're going completely another way. Gabe wanted to go exactly the opposite way, and he wanted to stay away from all the garbage matches, with all the props and dog and pony show, which I happen to like, and he wanted to go with the more straight-up wrestling show, which works really well for him. This is what nobody gets this is why there's 31 flavors of ice cream, because everybody has different tastes. And I think the secret is you have a little bit of something for everybody. I think that's always worked. It's always proven to work. You can't go too much one way, too much the other. Just a little bit of everything, and a strong main event. Before I go, Raven, I've enjoyed your commentary on your website, and keep up the good work. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, let's go to Scott in Galveston. Scott, what's going on?
Hey, Dave, Raven, how are you guys doing?
How are you?
Not too bad. I had a question for you. A couple of years ago, you did a Spider-Man comic.
Yes, I did.
And I grew up, in addition to being a wrestling fan, also a comic reader, which means I was completely dateless in high school.
I a poor bastard.
But I just wanted to know how that issue came about, what you thought of the experience, whether you'd be interested in doing something like that again. It was really an interesting take on a wrestler's story in that format. Honestly,
I wanted... Me and Bryan are good friends, the guy that I co-wrote it with, and actually I just read his Batman arc, which is one of the best... I think it's one of the best things he's ever done. He's a phenomenal writer, and honestly, I wish we would have had more time and more collaborative time, because a lot of stuff we were hampered by deadlines, and we were hampered by 22 pages, the regular issue. Because I wanted to really tell a longer story and really get you more sympathetic to the Crusher Hogan character.
Right.
But there just wasn't enough time in the thing. I wanted to get over his finish and have him beat people for like a year. So then it's even more heartbreaking when the whole thing goes up in smoke. But the only reason I haven't done more comics work, because I'm friends with almost every key figure in the business, is because I'm just too damn lazy. I mean, I'm one of those people that unless, to me it's work. Like talking on the phone with Bryan and collaborating, that's not work at all, so I enjoy that. But to sit there by myself alone and start writing, it irks me so much, so I don't do it. Whereas improving at wrestling was never a problem because I enjoy doing that. But writing isn't something I enjoy as a solitary pursuit. It's something, as a collaborative medium I don't mind. But I don't see any other creators beating down my door because obviously, then they got to split the profits in half. So,
right. Well, hey, I appreciate it. And for what it's worth, was that Spider-Man's Tangled Web number 40?
Yes. What about it?
Yes.
That was issue. Anybody who's of a mind to like Spider-Man ought to go pick that up. One of the better issues out there.
Okay.
Hey, I'll have a good night.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Raven, you were in a couple weekends ago. You went to Europe, and what was your thoughts about the scene there?
No, I really dug it. I came out when I came out in England the first night. I think they had like 700 people or something, and the pop was one of the biggest pops I've got since I've left. Since I was in a big company. I mean, and it was long, and it was loud, and it was heartfelt, and you know, it was something like that. Whenever you can tell it's heartfelt, it kind of touches you. You know what I mean? Not to sound all sappy or anything, but because a lot of guys don't understand. Like when somebody says hello to you, they can mean hello, how you doing, hello, you suck, hello, go screw yourself, whatever. And a crowd pop is the same way. Sometimes the crowd's popping because they're supposed to pop. Sometimes they pop because they saw something cool. Sometimes they pop because, you know, because it's the thing to do. And sometimes they pop because they really care, like, you know, because something really meant something. And you could tell that, like, they all stood up as a standing ovation. They were like, you know, basically thank you for coming here, which to me, that's why I'm doing it. That's the drug I get by on now is the crowd response. And so, you know, when a crowd gives something like that, like, it actually, oddly enough, this is kind of sound weird, but it actually kind of hurt the match because I wanted to give so much more to the fans for giving me so much that I took the match probably about 6 or 7 minutes too long, and I didn't peak it right, and the match ended up peaking about 3/4 of the way through the match instead of at the finish when it should have peaked. And there's an example of trying to give too much and it actually giving you less. You know, not that it was a bad match, but it would have been a much better match. Like, this is one of the little things I'm a nitpicker about. Like, the biggest pop should come at the end. And our biggest pop came at about 3/4 of the way through when we swerved them and looked like we were going home and then went into another set of heat and then we came back out of it again. And but I thought it was phenomenal. You know, plus I made so much money, it was ridiculous. I made, you know, 2 or 3 times what I would have made in the States, you know, in the same weekend. And then I went.
What percentage of that would be gimmick sales?
At least over a third.
Mm-hmm.
Between a third and a half, probably about a third, maybe a little more than a third.
Mm-hmm.
And then Germany was really cool because the promoter told me I was his favorite wrestler of all time, so me and him tug up. And the building is in downtown Essen, and it only holds, I guess it was the biggest crowd they ever had. It was like 300 people. And but it's in a bar, and they're packed wall to wall, and there's no room for guardrails because they want to get as many people as they can. So the fans are literally leaning on the ring. And it's just a small building, and all the fans are banging the mat. So it is so loud in there. It's unbelievable, the reaction. You know, and it was the same kind of thing like in England. Like the people were really gracious, and I loved it. I'll go back anytime. You know, especially for the kind of money they paid. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I guess it is a business. It's you know, I watched this show called Sunday Morning Shootout with this movie producer Bob Goober and this guy from Daily Variety who's an idiot, and he always says it's show business. It's 2 words, you know, show and business. It's a business, you know. So we're putting on a show, but it is a business. I got to line in my pocket. But by the same token, whenever you get that kind of heartfelt reaction, you know, you don't even think about the money anymore, you know. And then you get the money, you're like, wow, what a bonus, you know.
Yeah, but do you have plans to go back there?
Yeah, I'm supposed to go. The German promotion, I think it was actually their last show for at least a while, they said. And but England, yeah, I'm supposed to go back. There's a big show, I think, in October. It was for Alex Shane, who's a really good guy. And the German promoter's name was Hate. So I'm supposed to go back for Alex, I think like October or something. And I think he wants to bring me in sooner, like July or something, but we got to work out a scheduling thing.
Was there anyone you saw in England that surprised you or impressed you?
Honestly, I didn't get to see as much of the match. I was only wrestled one night. I wrestled one night in England, one night in Germany. I did a personal appearance. And I did a shoot interview, which is counted for the lucrativeness of it, the fiscal and fiduciary bonuses. But during I didn't actually see much of the matches because I was busy getting with because I really wanted to put together a good thing. And all we really did is put together the finish. I mean, most of it I just called in the ring, which I would rather. But between that and stretching, which, you know, now that I'm an old man, I got to stretch for half an hour. So that took a while. And so I finally. And I also don't like to watch a lot of stuff right before mine because then it just throws me off. So I honestly didn't get to see much till after mine. And then the monitor was, the camera they had shooting the ring was so far from the ring that it looked like 2 little ants having a match. So you really couldn't tell, you know, on any level how crisp or how good anything really was, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, we got to head out. I know you've got to head out too. We're going to get Gabe Sapolsky up after this. Raven, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Hey, seriously, this dude really does want to do a show, though.
Okay, no problem. We want to mention Wednesday night, Raven against Chris Harris. It's the main event. Winner gets a NWA title match on the 14th in a cage with Jeff Jarrett.
Get them to win that one too.
Okay, good enough. All right, we're talking to Raven at some point in the future, and our guest now, Ring of Honor booker Gabe Sapolsky, who's been in the news again. Probably this week, not in the way he wanted to be, but it's happened. With NWA TNA has pulled basically all of its contracted talent from your shows, effective immediately. And I guess just going through what happened, you were down there a week ago Wednesday, and they asked you to sign a document saying that Rob Feinstein was not in the company, and you were not the person who should have signed that document. And you told them that Doug Gentry was, and last Wednesday, Doug Gentry signed it, and then they asked for Kerry Silken, who's basically a silent partner in the Ring of Honor organization, or not a silent partner, but an investor in it, and asked him to sign, and he wouldn't because of a clause that said that that there would be personal liability if Rob Feinstein ever came back. And I guess the question that everyone's going to ask, number one, is if Rob Feinstein is never coming, what problem would Kerry Silken have as far as signing that?
Well, I mean, it's a very vague contract, and it's not a Rob Feinstein issue for us. It's a personal liability issue for us. And Bob Ryder, he posted the document on his site the other day, which kind of broke an agreement that we had that we weren't going to get into a big, he said, she said kind of thing with we were just going to release a joint statement and make this as least painful as possible for everybody involved. But he went ahead and put the document online, and if you look at the document, anybody with any kind of a lick of a business sense or knows anything about business or anything about the real world knows it's absolutely ludicrous to sign something saying personally liable, especially when you're dealing with somebody who's an investor in a company. When you invest in a company, you're investing in that company because you don't want the ownership responsibilities. You're investing because you're putting some money in and you want to sit back and hope to get some money back in the future. So anybody who invests in a company isn't going to sign anything on behalf of the company. The big thing when they sat down with me in the room when I was there with the Jarretts is that they wanted a piece of paper to assure the cable companies that Rob wasn't coming back. Well, they have our president and our owner has signed that piece of paper, and they can tell the cable companies they do have that signed piece of paper from Doug Gentry, the president and owner of Ring of Honor. Now, if that's not assurance, I don't know what is, especially when they were willing to let the booker sign it. And if you say, hey, the booker signed this thing, the cable companies are going to go, what's a booker? So they have the president and owner's signature. Kerry is an investor. It's ridiculous for investors to sign anything on behalf of a company, including this whole personal liability thing on a vague contract. So that's pretty much where we reached the impasse.
Now, what do you say, being that this coming back and basically it's never gone away from the whole start of the Rob Feinstein situation to people who, because, basically what from the outside looking in, I mean, the two things that the stuff that I've been reading, and it kind of, in a sense, frustrates me. Nobody can, I haven't read, there are people who are convinced that Feinstein is still, not just will come back, but actually still in the company, of which I haven't found any evidence of as far as, I haven't seen anyone with any, with anyone who's written anything that has any tangible evidence of. But at the same time, there's also no, what I would call tangible evidence other than Doug Gentry signing that piece of paper saying that, he's not coming back. What can you say about that subject?
If Rob was still with the company, there would be no company. It's that simple. I don't know what else people want to hear or what they want to see. Well, you the papers that say that Doug's the owner and the legal papers, and you've seen that it's all legal. And the bottom line is that, I'm not going to come out and trash Rob or trash anybody or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is that if Rob was still with the company, or if he ever returned to the company, there's no company for him to come back to. We're done. We're out of business. It's all over. So, you know, and I'm not, there's a lot more to it than that, which I'm not going to get into because it's private stuff within the business. But I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. And, you know, I don't know what people want. So, you know, we've done everything that we can. So, you know, at this point, it's like the people who still believe he's with the company are people who didn't like us in the first place or were out to get us in the first place. And no matter what we say or do, they're still going to be doubting it. And everybody else at this point pretty much realizes that he's no longer with us. I mean, it's just impossible for him to be with the company. It's that simple.
Now, as far as going forward, up until let's say what happened on Friday, has, you know, like, as far as, like, had you been, has your company been hassled or anything like that? As far as, I know that there was a period there where, you know, there were people who were, you know, phoning people and things like that. And certainly, like, independent wrestling, the nature of independent wrestling, a lot of the backstabbing, you know, all of a sudden there was a weakness in your company as far as public relations-wise, and this was a chance for enemies. And you're gonna, and you know as well as anyone, by being in wrestling at the level you're in, you're gonna get enemies no matter what you do. This was you know, your enemies had their big opportunity, and have they let up, or where do you see this? Because it almost kind of had felt like it had blown over until maybe like the last week or so.
Well, it's something that's always going to follow us. I mean, there's no question about that. So, but I mean, everything's been pretty much status quo. So, I mean, you know, nothing else big has happened or anything like that. It's nothing out of the usual.
Are there any more meetings scheduled with TNA? Because I know you guys, you're not stripping Agent Styles with the title or anything like that.
Yeah, no, there's no other meeting scheduled with TNA, but I'm still hopeful that this whole thing is going to get resolved. I'm not going to get into a big war, you know, with TNA. I'm not, you know, there's a lot of details that aren't being made public, which things could easily turn into a big ugly fight, and I'm not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is hopeful that, you know, this will blow over, and the guys will be able to come back, or, you know, something else will happen and the guys will be able to come back. And I'm not going to give TNA a reason to go a month from now or 2 months from now in case this does blow over. Oh, well, look how Ring of Honor responded, and now they're our enemies, so you can't go back there anyways. I'm not going to give them that opportunity. So, you know, we'll just keep our chin up and move forward. And we're still going to have shows in 2 weeks in St. Paul and Chicago. We still have Boston and Philly in May. All of our upcoming shows are still going on as scheduled. We still have an enormous amount of absolutely tremendous talent, so the least of my concerns right now is putting on quality shows. I mean, the talent is absolutely incredible, and if nothing else, this has given me an opportunity to really shake things up as far as the booking goes, and I have a lot of interesting ideas of different directions we can go in, and stuff that people haven't done before, and it's going to create a lot of fresh matches and create a lot of new stars and give a lot of people who are really hungry right now a lot of opportunities. So I'm pretty much just looking forward to that right now.
Do you have any rivalries that you are looking to like really jump in with right now?
What do you mean, as far as the talent goes?
As far as, like, new talent rivalries and you know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get all the new guys into the mix, like, in a hurry and in a big way. And, you know, I'm not going to go into all the details, obviously, because that would ruin everything. But right now what I compare it to is, and I talked to you about this, Dave, a couple of days ago, about how 2 or 3 years ago there was that one class, and they were all in that King of Indies tournament. And it was guys like Doug Williams and Samoa Joe and Loki and Bryan Danielson and AJ Styles, who wasn't in the tournament, or maybe
he was in it, and so was Spanky, too.
Yeah, Spanky and Paul London, and there's a few others I'm missing, Donovan Morgan. And that class in the last 2 or 3 years, they've really graduated on to bigger and better things. They've gotten Japan Success or WWE Contract, or their top indie name, Homicide, was also in that class. You know, so they've all risen up. Now there's a new class that completely reminds me of that class 2 or 3 years ago, with like the Havana Tipples and Roderick Strong and Alex Shelley and Jimmy Jacobs and Nigel McGuinness, and I'm missing a bunch of the guys, but the list goes on and on. And what Ring of Honor is always going to be about, we're always going to be at a small level. So whenever anybody reaches a certain level of success, we're going to lose them. Whether it's Loki, whether it's Paul London, or even Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, who are both superstars. So Ring of Honor is never going to be about superstars or Ring of Honor stars. It's always going to be about bringing in the best hungry talent and giving them some real exposure and giving them an opportunity to really show what they can do. And that's been our philosophy since day one, which is why our very first show, 99% of the indie shows out there would have headlined with Eddie Guerrero versus Super Crazy. We headlined with Low-Key versus Bryan Danielson versus Christopher Daniels, who weren't at the level that they are now, but were awesome workers back then. Right then and there, we set the tone that Ring of Honor is going to be about giving these guys that are hungry the spotlight and giving them the main spots on the card. And that's what we're going to continue to do. So, it hurts us star power-wise to lose those guys, but now this gives an opportunity for the hungry guys, and that's who you really always get that extra effort out of. Not that AJ or Daniels didn't work hard. They always work their hardest, but there's that element when guys are hungry, and that's when you really get something like that three-way dance that we had on our first show with Key, Danielson, and Christopher Daniels. So I'm really looking forward to giving this new crop a chance to really come in and make an impact in a hurry.
Let's go to Peter in Toronto. Peter, what's going on?
Hi, good evening, guys. I'm glad to be on tonight. I want to ask Gabe a few questions, and I'll also Dave, you too. First of all, I want to know from Gabe how he expects fans to believe what he's saying about Feinstein being separated from the company when there was so much mixed messages and so much confusion coming from wrestlers, coming from his organization right at the time during that one chaotic week. How can he really expect fans since nothing was really proved?
How can you say nothing was proved? We have the document signed. The first week was very chaotic. I mean, I'm the first to admit that the statements that we made at that point, we were very shell-shocked, and they weren't the best statements. But
it went from he's not involved whatsoever to he's no benefiting from the company.
That's the same thing.
It really irks me that you can suggest that if anyone taking this tone that if anyone knows a lick about business, well. You talk about Doug Gentry taking over. How did he secure the funds did he buy the company from Feinstein? How did this all go about?
Well, we're a private company, so we don't have to get into all the dealings of the business. It's absolutely...
So you don't have to tell fans...
Well, now you're cutting me off and not letting me answer. So it's absolutely ridiculous to think that we're going to sit here and go step by step by step by step on everything. We've faxed the legal papers to whoever wanted to see them, showing that Doug's gone from the company. The bottom line is there's no company if Rob's still around, and I'm not getting into the whole private business of the company. So if people want to sit there and doubt it at this point, they can, because there's nothing more that we can do to prove and say that Rob's gone. He's gone. Doug signed that slip with NWA TNA. He signed that paper. If Rob was to show his face at the next show, TNA could sue Doug for Ring of Honor. TNA could own Ring of Honor. I don't see what more, the people want. Either at this point, you're gonna have to say, okay, well, they presented this and that's enough, or you're always gonna have doubts. And there are people that are always gonna have doubts, and that's unfortunate. But that's the best thing we can do at this point is try to make business move forward. And we've shown and proved that Rob's not around. We've shown the papers to anybody who's wanted to see him. We've faxed them to anybody who's wanted to see him. And now we're trying to move forward with our business.
I just want to say, a few weeks ago, TNA said that they were going to change wrestling and maybe turn things around and do things better. I didn't really know at the time what they were referring to, but it was a case of finally wrestling doing the right thing, and maybe somebody in TNA is making the right decision. I mean, and to the Booker man there, in an age of Enron and Martha Stewart, you should take a lesson and learn how to be honest with your fans. To say that,
hold on. So you're saying I've been
Rob Feinstein, this is what you're saying. Believe me, Rob Feinstein's not with the company anymore. And then the next sentence you say, well, I don't have to tell you because it's a private company. Well, forget it. You're not trustworthy. You've lost the trust of the fans.
Then
why do you say
to us and don't support us? Goodbye.
Jeez. I don't know what to say. But I do have one question, and we are totally out of time, Gabe. The name RF Video. I mean, is there going to be a change in that name, or is it going to go forward, or is that up in the air?
I think it's up in the air right now. I haven't been in on the meetings on that for the last couple of weeks. I've been dealing with this TNA thing. So I should have an update on that soon, though. Okay, but I want to thank you very much for coming on. We're totally out of time. Of course, as we mentioned before, the 23rd St. Paul, 24th Chicago Ridge, Illinois, first time in both of those cities. Also want to thank Raven for being on earlier, and he's going to be wrestling Wednesday night on the NWA TNA pay-per-view. And, of course, next Sunday is WWE Backlash. The Sunday after that will be Pride, and we will be back live after that. And I'm sure we are going to have a ton to talk about when we come back in a couple of weeks.
You're listening to the Wrestling Observer live on the Sports Byline Radio Network.